What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. This time we're taking a look at Swamp Thing, written and directed by Wes Craven. I'm going to make this review as short as I possibly can. So, after the release of Superman back in 1978, the second DC character to get a movie adaptation was the titular character of Swamp Thing. Now, how is this movie stand on its own? I think it's okay. Swamp Thing is nothing special, but it's nothing bad either. This movie's got some good things in it. So, I'm gonna do my pros and my cons and try and make this review as short as I can. Pros: most of the cast in this movie I really like. I thought Ray Wise was a pretty good Alec Holland. I wish we would have gotten more scenes with him. Adrienne Barbeau as Alice Cable. I like the character. I like Adrienne Barbeau as an actress. I like the character of Alice. In certain scenes, she should be a damsel in distress, but when we first see her, she's hard nosed and she can handle herself. And Adrienne Barbeau gives her some personality and gives her some charisma, so I'm cool with that. And this movie tried to create a love story out of Alice and Alec, but it didn't fully have a chance to flesh them out, which is one of the weakest parts of this movie because this movie could have really benefited from a strong love story between Alice and Alec because I thought to me Barbeau and Wise kind of had some chemistry going on in the one scene that they shared together, and I would have liked to see more of that before Alec became Swamp Thing. And to me, again, I reiterate, the biggest weak spot for me in this movie was the lack of a strong love story because you could have really made something out of it. You could have really had a cool little Beauty and the Beast thing going on once Alec becomes Swamp Thing, and the movie tries to do that, but since Alec and Alice had a lack of development when Alec was still human, it kind of just falls flat a little bit. Um, Another thing I like the villains in this movie, particularly three villains. One is called Bruno, who is like this sniveling little weasel. The other one is called Ferret, played by David Hess, and I like David Hess as an actor, especially when he plays a psychopath, because he always comes across as being just over the top and cartoony. And this movie is no exception. Uh, the lead villain is played by Louis Jourdan, who is called Arcane. Arcane's a rival scientist who wants this formula that Alec is creating that eventually turns Alec into Swamp Thing, because supposedly this formula can solve world hunger. But the Arcane character wants to use it for his own nefarious needs, which he eventually does when he ransacks Alec's lab, killing Alec's sister and pretty much turning Alec into Swamp Thing unintentionally. Uh, how is the character Arcane as a to himself? I think he's fine. I thought Judine did a good, hammy, over-the-top villainous performance. He comes across as being really, really over-the-top and hammy, yet very subdued in a way. It's a very, it's a very hilarious performance because he's being so villainous and over the top, yet he's playing it totally straight. I don't know why. I just found that to be hilarious. There's a lot of hilarity in this movie. Um, this movie is trying to be a horror movie, and yet it has a lot of campiness to it. And Wes Craven, to me, is having a hard time trying to find a consistent tone with this movie. I don't think Wes doesn't know what he wants to do with this thing now. I love Wes Craven more than the next guy. He's one of my all-time favorite directors. But I think with this movie, I think Wes was trying to find a hard time. I don't know if Wes wanted to make a horror movie or an action movie. And tonally, it could be very, very lopsided. And when movies have inconsistent tones, that can also be weakness because now you're treading the water of you don't know what you want to do. And a lot of that has to go with this movie kind of having a very weak script that has some good ideas and some good elements in it, but they weren't fully fleshed out, which is another weak spot for this thing. Again, you have a strong cast, you have a really competent director in Wes Craven. I mean, visually, the movie looks fine. I love the look of the swamp. It has a foreboding yet very mysterious and beautiful look to it. The Swamp Thing outfit looks pretty cool, but there are also some moments where you can tell it's a guy in a rubber suit. But with that being said, I like Dick DeRock, the stuntman who was in Swamp Thing. I like his body posturing. I like how he made Swamp Thing look like this mammoth creature. And the fight scenes with when Swamp Thing's taking on this paramilitary that are working with Arcane, it's goofy, it's over the top, but it's fun to watch. This movie's got a comic relief with this little kid called Jude who meets up with Alice, and the kid Jude, I find him to be okay. He's not overly used. His humor could be hit and miss. I didn't mind him at all. And the fight scene when Swamp Thing takes on Arcane after Arcane has taken the serum and turns into like this pig monster thing, it's an entertaining, over-the-top battle between these creatures. It's fine for what it is. So yeah, those are just overall my quick thoughts on Wes Craven's Swamp Thing. I'm gonna give it a 6.5 out of 10. This movie is nothing offensive. It's entertaining, but it suffers. And a good Swamp Thing movie is yet to be made, and I hope it does get made because you can do a whole lot with the character of Swamp Thing. But in this case, this movie misses the mark, but at least Wes Craven made an entertaining movie out of what he was given. So that's the best I can say. 6.5 out of 10. Let me know your thoughts in the comment sections down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.